Hello and welcome to another lesson of Medical English 5-Minute Clinic. I'm Melissa, I'm a nurse practitioner and a midwife from the United States, and I'm also a TEFL certified English teacher, and I teach medical English. In this episode of Medical English 5-Minute Clinic, I will be continuing what I was teaching earlier and talking about words and phrases that you can use when you are either giving report or making rounds on patients or other times that you are talking to medical colleagues. Last time I talked about the ways that you can talk about vital signs, and today I'm starting to talk about medication. This is another really big subject, but I will start giving you a few phrases that you can start practicing today to get you more comfortable talking about this in English. So let's get started. Before we do, I want to say that I'm doing this lesson based on what I heard from my followers on Instagram and what I heard back from students. So I'm completely open to creating lessons based on what you want to learn and what you're interested in. So if you tell me in the comments below what you want me to focus on next, and I'll plan a lesson for it. Okay, so let's talk about the verbs you'll use when talking about medication. So the basics first. To start and to stop, right? Those are the two most important things you want to know how to say. So you can start a patient on a medication. So we started John Doe on atorvastatin. You can say we put John Doe on atorvastatin. Or the way, quick note, when we don't know someone's identity in English, we often say Jane or John, Jane or Don. I can't talk now. We say Jane or John Doe. Writing it down, you might be more formal and say that you prescribed John Doe something. So putting someone on and starting someone on is something that I think you're most likely to use when you're talking with someone. In written, you're more likely to see prescribed. It's a bit more formal. The other ones aren't slang, they're just more spoken. A quick interruption to say, if you're finding these free lessons on YouTube helpful, please subscribe to my channel and share the video with friends. It's the best thing that you could do to support me, and it's totally free to do. Okay, so back to the lesson. So to stop a medication. You can say to stop a medication. We had to stop the patient's medication, but you can also say take someone off. So because of the patient's uncontrolled hypertension, we had to take her off estrogen. Now, when you're documenting, when you're talking about stopping someone's medication, you're most likely to say DC, discontinued. And you'll use this both written and out loud. So you'll say, oh, I DC'd his lisinopril. You can also talk about stopping a medication temporarily. When we talk about stopping a medication temporarily, we use the verb hold or the phrasal verb hold off. So, for example, the patient had a planned operation, and so we had to hold the warfarin. We needed to hold the patient's medication until we saw the lab results. The patient's blood pressure dropped to 90/50. We need to hold off on giving the antihypertensive. So, by the way, did you catch that from the last one? The patient's blood pressure dropped. If you didn't, it's in the last lesson I did, verbs and vital signs. Before I go any further, I wanted to see if people are interested in an online medical English course. So you can follow the link below and fill out a quick form letting me know, and if enough people seem interested, I will do a course. Maybe we can't stop a certain medication all at once, and so we need to do it slowly. And in this case, you might hear the verb wean or the phrasal verb wean off. So we need to wean the patient off his IV opioid medication before we can discharge him from the hospital. So to wean off. You can also hear just wean. Before we do the procedure, we need to try weaning the patient's oxygen and see how he does. See how he's satting. Again, last episode. You might also hear the verb taper or the phrasal verb taper off. You might also hear taper as a noun. So you can say, we need to taper the patient's steroids. You can say, we need to taper the patient off the steroids. Or you can say, the patient is on a steroid taper. Those all mean similar things. Now, if you want to talk about increasing a patient's medication, so you can, of course, say increased. So we increased John Doe's dose of lisinopril. You can also say go up on or upped. So you could say, we went up on his lisinopril. You can say, we upped his lisinopril, or we upped his lisinopril dose. Both are okay. So now what if we need to adjust medication? We need to change medication. Well, I just said the first two. So you can say to adjust a medication or to change a medication. Sometimes you need to adjust a medication based on a lab result. And in this case, we'll use the word titrate. So you need to titrate the dose that you're going to give based on the patient's labs, right? So we might do this with heparin. So for example, we're titrating the patient's heparin drip based on his PTT or based on his APTT. So we can titrate medication to reach a therapeutic level. And that's all I can fit in for today. Like usual, you know where to find me. I'm available on all of these places right here. You can, of course, comment below or find me on my website. And I will see you in the next episode of Medical English 5-Minute Clinic. And don't forget, I'm picking next week's episode based on what my students and followers are interested in. So let me know and I will make it happen. Okay, see you next time.